in Austin, Texas, happened to be visiting today. In fact, he arrived this morning. He went home at about 5 o'clock, so did I, to see my family. He's here at my home right now. And I gave him a call to see how he was doing. He said, "Did you see the news? It just broke in the last few minutes." I said, "No." He said, Obama's lawyers, I mean, his top counsel, group he set up when he left the White House, has sued President Trump and Roger Stone. So that's why we have the headline, Obama has sued, ladies and gentlemen, Roger Stone, and he has also sued President Trump. These are federal judges that have done this, that have signed on. It's incredible. And you have to understand, it's not like they sued him for something he said or did. It's the whole Russia narrative again, just like they keep claiming they physically hacked the election. Now they admit that's not true. Their whole big story is one person tied in with Soros and Obama, this Russian lady, went and had a 15-minute meeting with Donald Trump Jr. So they have sued him, ladies and gentlemen. Now remember, with this backdrop, the Democratic leader of the Federal Elections Commission has sent a letter to Congress talking about the criminal investigation of myself, Breitbart, and Drudge, counter-espionage investigation that Obama launched before he left, that is ongoing in the deep state shadow government. And they said they want me hauled before Congress and investigated for getting my money from Russia. I can speak maybe 5 words of Russia. Babushka, I think means grandmother. Vodka, we know what that is. I could say Moscow. I mean, I've studied some of the history of it. To claim that is insane. So this is clearly their tactic. Intimidate, attack, create witch hunt trials, which just keep the process going, and the public thinks, well, there must be something if they're suing people. The plaintiffs are folks in WikiLeaks. So Roger Stone's going to walk through this. He's the guy being sued. But tell everybody you know watching on Facebook and on Twitter, and of course at InfoWars Nightly News that has expanded coverage tonight, Infowars.com/show, that this is happening. At least hear what Roger Stone being sued by Obama. I mean, even the New York Times, Politico, Obama's lawyers formed worst-case scenario group to tackle Trump. This is 6 months ago with his stay-behind networks and the leakers. Soros-tied Obama lawyers formed group to battle Trump. This is, again, Politico right here. Why the Project Democracy is representing victims of election hacking, which they just state as fact that Roger Stone is behind. So I'm going to turn this over to Roger to break some of this down for you guys watching tonight. But this shows desperation. Roger was exuberant, and so was I tonight. And I appreciate him coming over to my house from his hotel after a long day to break this to you exclusively first. Okay, so this is exclusively what Roger Stone's saying, not what the fake media is saying. We're going to walk through all of this, but in the history of jurisprudence, this is the greatest witch hunt ever seen, literally beyond nothing burger. And just shows how vitriolic and disconnected they are. I mean, they still have Hillary as the face of the Democratic Party in 2018. They have Pelosi, who thinks George W. Bush is still president, doddering around. I think in many ways this is really, really, really good news. But if we don't counter them, though, I wonder what new levels of defamation, slander, and libel they're going to engage in, Roger.
Well, Alex, this lawsuit that was filed on behalf of 3 donors to the Democratic National Committee alleges that I conspired with the Trump campaign to hack the Democratic National Committee emails and therefore have published through WikiLeaks, I guess, personal information which exposes their clients to danger. What's interesting about this is that in the header of the lawsuit, they include my home address in Florida, which is unheard of in the legal community, and which my lawyers were astounded about. An obvious attempt to incite violence against me.
Just like Scalise.
What's even more interesting, though, is there is not an iota of evidence, there's not a shred of evidence that I had any advanced knowledge or involvement in the hacking of the Democratic National Committee emails, if they were even hacked. This is a particularly poorly written complaint. They can't even prove that the emails were hacked, never mind that they were hacked by Roger Stone or anyone involved in the Trump campaign. It's not coincidental that they dropped this phony lawsuit just days before my testimony in front of the House Intelligence Committee, Alex. This is a smear job. But the problem is they picked a fight with the wrong guy. You see, I like a good fight. I have no problem with that. Every single lawyer on this list will be pursued, and sanctions will be sought because they have wasted the court's time and precious resources with a completely phony, frivolous, and a lawsuit that is entirely without merit. They can't even prove that the emails of the DNC were hacked, period, by anyone, since the Democratic National Committee won't let anyone examine their
21 times they wouldn't let Jay Johnson and Homeland Security and the FBI, the NSA, and let's just add, they have no standing under classical law. They have no proof. They have no connection. WikiLeaks is bipartisan, cut its teeth going after George W. Bush. Assange has said it's not Trump. It's not you. You've never said that. I mean, this is beyond any fraud we've ever seen. So here's the big question before we go through all this. Who did it? We're going to go over that. We're talking Democrat judges, you name it, are running this lawsuit pro bono. All former Obama people. Why did they do it? And what are we going to do about it? And again, they launched the FEC complaint on me. Federal Elections Commission, the same folks that threw Dinesh D'Souza in prison for 1/1,000,000th, what the Clintons did, saying they're seeking criminal investigations, which are ongoing, for us taking Russian money. Literally insane asylum level garbage, ladies and gentlemen. This investigation of yours truly has been going on for at least 6 months. Our phones are admittedly tapped. They know none of this is true. They're trying to intimidate you and change the subject away from the crimes they committed. Even Forbes today said, is Russiagate really Hillarygate? That's on our Twitter at Real Alex Jones. And the answer is absolutely. They're the ones up to their eyeballs with Russia, above their heads with China, and it's all coming out. Go ahead, Roger.
So let's look at the lawyers behind this suit. Ian Basin is a former top attorney in the Obama White House. Van Nest and Peter's partner, Stephen Hirsch, former federal judge and Harvard professor Nancy Gertner, and Richard Primus, a professor at the University of Michigan. Every one of you will be sanctioned. Every one of these attorneys will be humiliated in court by putting their name on a specious document that is completely without merit or any foundation in fact. They fall back on the same tired arguments again that Stone knew about the hacking of the DNC documents because I predicted it, consistent with a WikiLeaks tweet of July 31st, meaning I can read. This is a partisan attack.
That's right. You wrote articles about WikiLeaks stuff days after it came out. I mean, Hillary, when she attacked me a month ago, said within an hour of WikiLeaks releasing a new document, InfoWars had already covered it. Yes. We crowdsource, it goes out, millions were at that time would pile on during the campaign, read it. Paul Watson would then write an article about it. That's what news people do, is get scoops. Like when a plane crashes, if you've ever been in a newsroom and the news comes in, everyone scrambles, falling over each other, because whoever gets it out first gets the big scoop. That's what it's called, dumbasses. And again, it makes me realize how coddled and controlled and addled these Democrats are. Because Republican establishments, bad, but they're well-oiled, focused slime at the top. With the Democrats, it's like bumbling dum-dums from some planet moron where they get lobotomies at birth, running around in circles because it's all on the timelines. Even Philadelphia, even the Associated Press, even Big News did the analysis and said Roger Stone reported WikiLeaks after it was out. Roger Stone always said he was trying to get a hold of Assange, like everyone else. Roger Stone never said the things they're saying, but they keep doubling down. So here's my question before you get more into this. Clearly, it's a publicity stunt ahead of your testimony coming up, which you've been relishing, saying you wouldn't testify in private, you want it public. Clearly, they know their whole thing's disintegrating. They've played everything they've got, so they want to have it in the news that they've sued you and President Trump. You, though, I know, even though you're angry at what frauds they are, you like this fight. They have really, really stepped in it.
Well, let me be very clear. Attorneys Basin, Hirsch, Gertner, and Primus, you are involved in a fraud upon the court. You will be punished. You will be exposed. Not only will we move for immediate dismissal, I will ask the court for sanctions. but I will be filing a countersuit against every one of you for defamation. You have nothing. This is a poorly drawn complaint that is only going to draw your public humiliation. You picked the wrong guy. If you're looking for a settlement, you've picked the wrong guy. Now you've got to fight. Mr. Basin should be disbarred on the basis of this complaint. Frivolous, fraudulent, phony, without evidence, without a shred of evidence. You can't even prove the DNC documents were hacked by anyone. Never mind the involvement of the Trump campaign or yours truly. This is going to be fun because, Alex, there's nothing better than beating the crap out of a bunch of self-important liberal punks who think they're important just because they went to law school. And I particularly enjoy taking a chunk out of the ass of a former federal judge who had the bad judgment to put his name on this piece of crap.
What's crazy is it's every rumor, it's every innuendo, it's a giant 46-page complaint that reads like a comic book or something. I mean, I'm surprised this doesn't have Martians coming down from the sky and, kidnapping women and children like War of the Worlds. I mean, you read this thing and it says you and Trump hacked it. You and Trump did it. You and Trump released the names of these people they're using.
I find it hard to believe whoever drafted this complaint actually graduated from a law school. It's that poorly written.
And by the way, you've been involved with the law. I've been involved with a lot of leaders and presidents. You've seen lawsuits. I've seen lawsuits. We've sued. We've been sued. I mean, they thought the Chobani complaint written up against me was a joke, which, of course, they were quickly very happy, ready to settle. And what it turns out is this is all just publicity stunts. But I've pledged that the next time somebody files a publicity stunt suit with me, that I'm going to have to fight it, even if people later want to settle for, let's just say, things in the positive column for me. Okay, I'm not getting into Chobani there. I'm just saying, because I realize that, again, it's the publicity that I'm being sued and I'm bad and I've done something wrong. That's what they're relishing. That's what they're pushing, so they can act like you're the bad guy. And like I told you tonight, you've got to sue them because this is done for pure publicity, and it's a Democratic Party strategy now that we understand. They're not asking for retractions. They're not asking for clarifications. They're simply wanting to sue people and then be able to pretend you're guilty because they filed the lawsuit and have the media convict you. But you read this, I mean, this is just a complete and total fiction.
Yeah, I not only intend to file countersuit against these individual lawyers, but the plaintiffs, Schoenberg, Cockrum, and Comer. Your lawyers have endangered my life by publishing my personal information. Therefore, I'll be suing you. I guess your lawyers probably didn't explain that potential vulnerability to you.
And here's the thing. You've been dehumanized. We've all been dehumanized. Where these people sit here and they turn Roger Stone into Satan incarnate, or they turn me into Satan incarnate, and they say and do things and put things in our mouth that we never said. You're supposed to put somebody's lawyer's address, okay, or their business. You never put their home address. This is all part of the New York Times going, hey, look, Scalise doesn't have security. The Republicans play baseball here every week. I mean, that's what they're doing. And they're saying hashtag not Republicans. And they've got the New York Times, the Washington Post saying somebody needs to kill Trump. And they've got, Kathy Griffin and all this. But here's the deal. CNN's ratings have gone from low to nothing. Megyn Kelly, literally, they're talking about her being fired the next month, over what happened. You people don't get. You can try to intimidate us all day long. All it does is make our viewers and listeners understand something. Since we've been persecuted, we've only had more support. Our ratings, I was telling you today and showing you the numbers, have just exploded. And you know what, Roger? I've got the file in there in my office. I'm going to bring it in here. I've got your contract that we were negotiating for you to do a 6-day-a-week radio show with us and to come on to InfoWars full time. And we were going to negotiate that. But I'm just going to go ahead and go with what you asked for. This is a symbol of doubling down and wanting to be associated with you having just despicable, un-American lying enemies out there that want to intimidate the political process and claim that we've done all this when they're the ones that ran that political corpse, Hillary Clinton. We are only intensifying our efforts. This is meant to scare the general public and think that if you go up against them, you'll be destroyed. No, this is wonderful. This is so good to be able to depose these people. This is so good to be able to really understand where they're coming up with all this. So please continue.
Well, if this matter should ever go to trial, I would, of course, have to examine the Democratic National Committee servers in order to defend myself.
Which they won't let anybody see.
Not going to happen. Look, the point here is twofold. You mentioned Megyn Kelly. It's funny. Her producer contacted me this afternoon asking me to be on her show this Sunday. she must really need a ratings boost. So she said, and I quote, "Get me Roger Stone."
Well, get her back down to Austin.
I don't think that's likely. This is an attempt to poison the well ahead of my testimony, is what it is. It's a phony lawsuit. It's irresponsible. That any learned attorney would put his name on this piece of crap is beyond belief. But now you will pay a horrific piece. You want to fight? Good. Let's fight.
Now let's talk about, we've talked about who did it. Let's talk about why they did it. They, as you said today on my show before we knew the suit had just been filed this afternoon, you said, what was the term? You said you've never seen a hysteria in Washington like they had won the Holy Grail, found eternal life. I mean, who knows? Just hysterical that finally they had something to do with Russia when it's Donald Trump Jr. going to investigate the crimes of Hillary, just like Trump had said, during that same period, if you've got the emails, whoever's got them, she's the criminal. If Russia's got them, release them. They distract from her in the emails, rigging the election, rigging the debates, rigging the polls, running the mainstream media. They're so desperate to change off this and see now the new thing is make WikiLeaks about victims who were donors whose names got put out as if we did that, or as if none of the criminality by the Clintons or the Podestas is debatable. It's about, this is what it is. It's guaranteed rebranding WikiLeaks as victimizing these poor DNC donors. I mean, that's clearly what this is. You've got rampant pedophilia with the Pope and his deputy being indicted for kidnapping and raping over 100 small children. You've got the gay sex orgies I just busted him last week with. You've got Sandusky's son being indicted. You've got the head of Penn State being indicted. You've got over 10,000 pedophiles being arrested by Trump, many of them with kids in cages. I mean, this is all over the local news, but not national. So they make up the whole Pizzagate thing, distract off on a pizza place from Podesta's emails and the Wiener sexting that we broke, to then claim that we'd said all this stuff we didn't say, even though we reported on their reporting, claim we created it, to then say pedophilia doesn't exist. Well, see, now the WikiLeaks are just poor victims of Roger Stone. There's no criminality in there. That's how they rebrand and change the subject. So let's talk about what this is meant to do. To make it look like with the public, mounting evidence, Trump's being sued, Stone's being sued, just like all those fake Jane Doe lawsuits that Trump was on the plane there with Epstein. But it was Bill Clinton confirmed by Homeland Security on the plane. They checked. Trump never flew on the plane. It was Bill Clinton 20 plus times on the raped plane on the Lolita Express. So again, everything they're doing, they're projecting. The truth is it's desperate. Trump has the trifecta, the legislative, the executive, the judicial. They have 30 of the state houses. They've reversed them everywhere. The Democratic Party is a collapsing, mentally ill, pro-radical Islam party led by Linda Sarsour. They are done. And so, barring a civil war or a COG overthrow of Trump, you're done, scum. You're done. You could have run the country and been prosperous, but you had such a hard-on to piss on people better than you and to say the West would fall and all this crap that everyone now knows you hate flyover country, you hate America, you want to sow the seeds of dissension. So because you're loser punks, I looked at these Obama lawyers, these White House lawyers that Obama had sue you. I mean, what a bunch of cowards. Why didn't Obama just do it himself? So Roger Stone, I'm going to give you the floor for about 10 minutes. I'm going to get the contract. This is symbolic. Why are they doing it? You agree with me? And why didn't Obama have the courage to put his name on himself? And, because who could deny this is Obama doing it? And now Trump's got to take the gloves off more than ever. They don't want to have a conciliatory. They don't want to have everything work together. They don't want to go along to get along. They want domination and control like the chicken shits they are. Roger Stone.
What's interesting about this complaint is that in 46 pages, roughly 30 are dedicated to a regurgitation of the Donald Trump Jr. story. Everything we have read, of course, put in the most negative possible light. I have to assume that my name was added to this lawsuit for the sizzle, to give it some notoriety, get a better headline. The problem here is, however, that I have now been defamed, and these lawyers individually must be held responsible for filing a frivolous lawsuit with the court, wasting the court's time, but more importantly, they have defamed me. They will all be named in an individual suit, as well as their phony plaintiffs, and we'll see what the courts say. You can't even prove that the DNC emails were hacked. You're citing the assessment, I'll go to that page, the assessment of the intelligence agencies. Attorneys, let me give you a hint. When the CIA says something is their assessment, that means it's bullshit. That means that's what they want you to believe. It means they can't prove it. Just having the CIA say, we assessed that this happened, doesn't mean it happened. And John Podesta, question for you. Those numbers and symbols on your fingers in the picture, could you explain to us what those mean? Just curious.
Again, I want to expand on this. This is the wimpy way they're doing this. And Obama forming this group, and the New York Times saying they're giving out secrets, they're giving out all the facts, so that when Trump gets in, he'll still get in trouble. Organizing the government to leak false information. They have been caught. Comey this week, the FBI admits, and the Hill reported, did have a classified memo, didn't give it to the Attorney General, did cover it up. That's a crime, a felony, and he obstructed justice. They marched this Mueller around like he's Jesus Christ or something, just another complete Clinton cover-up artist. Covered up 9/11, you name it. It's truly sickening. Do they not understand they got their butts kicked in the election and that Trump now has more support than he's ever had? I mean, it is so lionizing for Trump, somebody I've even been critical of, just to see these cowards and these scum going after, and if you just tuned in, Roger Stone and President Trump were sued today, and they just say, like it's a defamation suit, like you did something, or like you were convicted of a crime. They just say you're guilty. What's incredible is
it accuses us of conspiring to hack the DNC emails and give them to WikiLeaks. Julian Assange denies that that's true. I deny it's true, but more importantly, there is no evidence whatsoever to that effect.
They state it as fact.
Yes.
They say you did it.
Well, that's because they rely on the assessment of the intelligence agencies to say that Russians, wait a minute, is it Stone and the Trump, or is it the Russians? Which is it? They say I met repeatedly with Russian officials. I've never met with any Russian officials in my life.
Well, let's expand on that. Today they had the Washington Times with the headline, Alex Jones under criminal investigation for Russia ties. And at the bottom it says, Jones says he's never been in contact with Russians, never gotten money from Russians, but then it says, but that's not the assessment of the intelligence agencies. The 17 never said it. 3 Politico hacks of Obama lied and said it was unanimous. But notice they just said it was unanimous that Russians were involved. Now they just by extension say we're all convicted because 17 agencies said it. They never even said our names, and it wasn't even 17 agencies. So it's regurgitated, laundered lies that are passed through like a telephone game around this table that get weirder and weirder and weirder. I mean, when I used to tell you, settle down, they were calling you a Russian agent a year ago, we were having dinner. But as soon as I got accused of it, it's so bizarre. And then it's the Democrats who famously, they declassified the KGB files in 2000. It was all true what McCarthy said. So these are the literal people that made hundreds of Hollywood movies about witch hunts, about one that was quasi-real and went too far. This has turned, it was used politically. This is the most naked witch hunt ever. So Roger Stone, where is this going?
This is going nowhere in the courts. This will be dismissed. What will be interesting will be the actions that fall out of it. My attempt to get sanctions against every one of these phony baloney attorneys, these shysters who put their name on this fraudulent claim, they are all actively involved in a fraud upon the court, and they have to be held responsible for that. Secondarily, I have no choice but, I think, to launch a countersuit for defamation. We are based on, this is like a clip deal where you take various newspaper clippings and you paste them together and call it a legal
It's
opinion.
like the CIA report in January that talked about RT reports 4 years ago. A high school journalism student would do a better job. That's another thing. It's like the Chobani lawsuit. My lawyer said they'd never seen anything written that bad. It's like a 5-year-old did it.
Well, not only that, but they rely again and again on the report of the U.S. intelligence community. Let me read this. Russian efforts to influence the 2016 U.S. presidential campaign represent the most recent expression of Moscow's long-standing desire to undermine the U.S. liberal democratic order. We assess, key word, means they can't prove anything, that President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016. Put up or shut up. Cut the crap with the assessments. Show us proof. You have none, because there is none. And then, as a kicker, they give you this one. We have high confidence in these judgments. Really? The kind of confidence you had in all 17 U.S. intelligence agencies saying that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction? The same confidence you had in asserting that there was no torture at Abu Ghraib.
But they made up the 17 agencies unanimously saying Russia physically hacked the election. Now they're calling a meeting with some Russian lawyer. The total proof when Hillary sold out the uranium, Hillary made the energy deals, Hillary sold out the country, and even Forbes again admits that Hillary is the one with the Russian problem. But let's expand on this. In their own little pea brains, I looked at some of these lawyers, and I mean, I got to tell you. I mean, we always make jokes that leftists look like chicken neck lobotomized, Frankensteins, but they all literally look like they got beaten with a retard stick, and I don't mean that meanly. And they all look like they think they're really tough. I mean, do they realize that this is going to go down in the history books? And we're not trying to act confident, folks. This is a joke. I mean, you read this lawsuit by these Soros-Obama lawyers that Obama created this group on record to go after Trump and everybody else, and they're going after me saying I'm a Russian agent, and they're just regurgitating all these crazy rumors and crap. What are they planning? Because it's never going to come out. It's never going to be proven true because it's not true. What are they going to do?
Well, if they think they have any chance whatsoever of winning this lawsuit in a U.S. court of law, they're out of their minds. Mr. Basin should be embarrassed that he put his name on this.
I don't think not even the Ninth Circuit would sit there and uphold this. No one would. I mean, they just say that you hacked them and Trump hacked them and all the rest of this.
With no evidence whatsoever, which is, of course, the key point before the House Intelligence Committee and hopefully the Senate Intelligence Committee. This is a warm-up, an attempt to blacken my name ahead of my testimony. It won't work because I intend to counterattack and do so aggressively. We'll see you MFers in court. I look forward to it. I relish combat. I look forward to humiliating every single one of you shysters who put your name on this fraud upon the court.
I understand that the way it works is you go, you throw it out, you defeat it, then you sue them. But to get immediate relief, this is such a new level of publicity stunt. I think your lawyers are going to agree, just for optics, especially because you need to go ahead and countersue like this week. I think you really do, because this is serious defamation. This is designed to taint these hearings ahead of time. This is an attempt to have the media manipulate going into these hearings. But I got to tell you, Roger, I've even seen on mainstream media, they all know it's a fraud. We've seen the Project Veritas behind the scenes. They admit it's all a fraud, whether it's Van Jones or these producers. Let me ask you this. Talk about the hearing. They wanted you to testify in secret so they could make stuff up. This is going to be public, isn't it? Tell us about this.
We compromised because they're allowing me to read a written statement into the record. The actual statement in the hearing can be 5 minutes long, but the written statement, which I'll be submitting and releasing in advance, will be in excess of 5 minutes long. I will also be holding an immediate press conference after my testimony so that there can be no attempt for lightweight demagogues like Adam Schiff, when he's not busy having a fundraiser with a Ukrainian arms dealer, to misstate or distort what is said behind closed doors. So, Eric Swalwell, you are a stone-cold liar. You are a bald-faced liar, and I'm calling you out. You're not only Pelosi's bitch in the House, but you're one of the most irresponsible, lightweight demagogues I've ever met.
Because, they're not going to let you testify in public?
No, they will not allow public testimony.
Oh, they're so scared.
No, because they know I would humiliate them. But don't worry, I'll get my.
Well, we're going to have reporters there. In fact, I even may come. I'm going to have the crew there. Even though we got limited crew, we need to get more people. You need to do a press club before it too and after.
Yes, that is our plan. So,
but in the old days, they would have testimony where you could even respond, even during the House Committee on Un-American Activities. That they just literally won't even let you do that?
Because Adam Schiff is a coward. He's a pussy. He's yellow. He hasn't got the guts to face me in public. Eric Swallow, you're a big, tough veteran. Then why don't you go mano a mano in public? Because you're a lightweight, you're a coward, and you lie consistently. I'm calling you out, bitch. You've got no balls. If you had any balls, we'd have an open hearing. Swalwell, Spire, Schiff, these guys are demagogues. They're engaging in fear-mongering, red-baiting,
and they're covering up. They're covering up for Hillary, selling out the Chi-Coms and the Russians to a certain extent. And it's like you were here a few months ago when you broke the news. They're going to say Trump's mentally ill next. You were right. That guy walks down the hall at the Channel Of Jim Willie and he goes, "You Russian traitors! It's the Democrats and the globalists selling the country out. We're the ones trying to make the country great again. And you just say we're Russian agents." I mean, and again, the left goes, "Yeah, you are," like it's some power word they have. They overuse racist till everybody woke up to them and said, "No, we don't buy it anymore." Political correctness. So now they've moved on to Russia. Do they understand that's why they're extincting their party? That all the national polls show that that's why they're imploding? People are sick of this. So we really shouldn't interrupt our enemies when they're destroying themselves.
No, actually, I think if they think this lawsuit was a public relations 10 strike, they're about to realize this is one of the biggest mistakes they have ever made. I'm going to use this lawsuit to chastise and spank every one of them. There's nothing of any substance here whatsoever. And prominent lawyers should not be actively involved in a fraud upon the court. I believe the court will punish you.
And real lawyers that are liberals like Jonathan Turley has come out and said that Trump Jr. didn't do anything wrong.
There's no illegality there whatsoever.
But, I mean,
that's all they have. They have nothing else. They could not find any crime by the president himself, so now they focus on his children.
But they act like they caught him. I mean, if there was emails saying, "Yeah, like Hillary does, I'll give you the uranium for $30 million, or give me $100 million in the stock. I'll cut off our gas supplies, or we'll give you this gas line." Then I'd say put him in prison. It's him trying to expose Hillary and her Russia connections. His father was on TV saying, "I don't care who's got the damn emails." Yeah, I mean, if kids are kidnapped and the Russians know where they are, or the Iranians know, or the Mexicans know, or the South Koreans know, or the Venezuelans know, or the Japanese know, release it. It's like they committed the crimes and they've changed the subject, but it isn't working. But I've realized we've got to go back to all the WikiLeaks. We've got to go back to the election. We've got to show the fraudulent polls. We've got to show Hillary's arrogance. We've got to keep bringing back and hammering what scum they are and how they're trying to block tax cuts that'll get the economy going. How they're trying, I mean, Trump's doing a great job despite their obstructionism, and how they're trying to block and keep Obamacare in place. That's who, and the media is like, "Oh, look, Trump's failing. Yay, the Republican leadership and the Democrats are against him." Exactly. And then the so-called liberals on Twitter and Facebook who think they're liberals, they're not liberals. They're just idiots. So
the president has to go on offense. Days before the election, the FISA court released a decision that demonstrated that the Obama administration was involved in the wholesale, illegal, unconstitutional monitoring of and surveillance of hundreds of thousands of Americans, and that James Comey's FBI misused this information.
These are like East German political commissars.
The smile will be wiped off the elites' faces when Clapper, Rogers, Brennan, Hillary, Obama, Rice, and Jarrett are arrested at 5 o'clock in the morning and dragged off to a federal courthouse. That day, my friends, is coming.
Absolutely. And let's expand. Everything Nixon did, they did times literally 50,000. He just had 100 and something names in a safe he was talking about using, and then broke into a psychiatrist's office, and which was wrong. These guys are sitting there wiretapping everybody, admittedly, leaking it, using it, twisting it, having illegal memos, saying they didn't, saying they did, changing testimonies, reigns of terror, hashtag hunt Republicans, pushing for violence everywhere, funding Antifa, funding cop-killing groups. When cops get killed, CNN goes, "Well, they deserved it." Just random cops being killed. I mean, they are so mentally ill. They are so deranged that I can't even believe they're this crazy, but I get it. A bunch of wimps who thought they were betas got put in power by our kindness. And everybody knows a weird beta you put in charge goes more crazy than anybody. And that's what's happened. We've put a bunch of hunchback, I don't mean physically, but spiritually, hunchback betas in that are just crazed, running wild. Now, you need to get some food in you. You were going to go eat tonight before we got on the phone and all this news broke. So I want you to get it off your chest here, recap your statements to everybody. A lot of folks are watching. Then we'll take about 10 minutes of questions from Twitter and from Facebook, where folks are streaming and watching us by the hundreds of thousands live right now. And of course, MSM will try to cut this up and deceive what we've said and what we've done. That's what they do. That's why they're losing even more credibility and now can just act as disruptors against us trying to make the country great again. But you know what we really said. I said, Donald Jr. yesterday deserves a medal for trying to go out and find out, evidence of Hillary being on the Russian payroll, which we already know was there. They spun it and said he went to meet with the Russian lady to see if she was a spy. I never said that. David Brock had that spun. The New York Post, the New York Times, Washington Post picked that up. So we'll take some questions for Roger Stone specifically, serious questions from Facebook. Then we'll take some from Twitter here in a few minutes. But go ahead, Roger.
So just to recap, this lawsuit is completely without merit. There is no evidence whatsoever, as the lawsuit alleges, that I colluded with the Trump campaign and was involved in a conspiracy to hack the emails of the Democratic Committee.
Well, they say you did it.
Giving them to WikiLeaks and humiliating their 3 poor clients. I have a great believer in the judicial system. I believe that when this is taken out of the realm of the political and put in the realm of the courts, the truth will be known. This is completely without merit. It's a smear attempt to try to blacken my name ahead of my testimony. Challenge accepted. I'll see you bastards in court.
I mean, I read most of this 40-something page complaint today before you got here. It took you about an hour to get here. And I mean, they just report every rumor and conspiracy theory as if it's total fact. And the only thing in there that's got any reality is Donald Trump Jr. and the email in that meeting. But then how that is proof that you hacked the DNC and that you gave it to WikiLeaks when WikiLeaks is very credible and bipartisan.
They obviously think people will be impressed by the blanket false assertion of the so-called intelligence agencies that were highly confident that the Russians attempted to subvert the election. Total absence of
evidence. They all want to write novels about this.
Just because they say it.
They all want to be rock stars. They all want to be heroes. And the Democratic Party wants to raise money off this pro bono lawsuit with a law group that Obama had set up with his lawyers. Here's the bottom line. This is a suit from George Soros, Obama, and Hillary. This is Obama's suit. This is his lawyers. They admit, Washington Post, Politico, he set this up to come after you and the president to stop the agenda to restore the republic. How does it feel to have President Obama out of office, moved in a mile from the White House? How does it feel to be in the sights with Trump? I mean, that is quite a club. You're right up there now in the George Washington Club if we defeat these people.
Well, if you're going to be in the foxhole with anybody, I'd like to be in the foxhole with Donald Trump because he's a fighter. And he has consistently denounced this entire fabrication, this fairy tale of Russian collusion. Now we have this convoluted story about Don Jr., who in good faith meets with a woman to determine whether she has evidence of crimes by Hillary Clinton. He would be irresponsible not to have that meeting. The meeting is not illegal. Any lawyer who says this is a violation of the federal election law doesn't know their ass from their elbow. There's no violation of law here. That's a cooked up meme of the Washington Post.
Boy, I think you've been banging the table hard.
Guess so.
Now the cat just jumped on top of the cabin over there. You got the cat so excited that it just knocked some books off over there. Wow. It's funny. It's funny that you say that because I know about federal election law. I've been reading articles about it for 20-something years. I always check everything before I'm involved in it. I'm giving a few contributions to Ron Paul and people like Donald Trump. The maximum, whatever it is, $2,000, $2,800 or whatever. And I happen to know about advertising and laws. And then now they've had the Democrats on the Federal Election Commission come out and announce that they don't want any talk radio stations. They don't want radio, anything that's conservative to have any free speech, saying it's electioneering. And just like they tell churches that they're conservative, they can't say anything about politics, but the Democrats all can. The First Amendment says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And so when you look at this, to them say, oh, we're going to look at this as a federal elections commission, because if you got something helpful from this lady in the campaign, that information and free speech is a form of currency, and we now regulate that free speech currency, is beyond any cult I've ever heard of. Not only does the left want to control language and say what words you can use, now if you communicate anything meaningful to someone who is involved in a political campaign, that is currency, and so your speech is limited and authorized by these insane asylum nutballs that are putting out letters saying they want criminal investigations expanded and me hauled into Star Chamber inquisitions, and she just states, because I get money from the Russians. Again, it passes through the intelligence agencies unanimously say Russia's involved, which they didn't. Then they say, and everyone's a Russian agent, prima facie. They put a stamp on it, and it's beyond stuff I hear about in North Korean courts or Venezuelan courts. I mean, it is just lunatic asylum. So I want to say this in closing before we take some comments in my general statements. We can make jokes about this all day. It shows how deranged the Democratic Party is and the Republican establishment going along with them and the media. That's their own trifecta. Trump has the legislative, the executive, the judicial. But the problem is they have the controlled media. They have the rogue groups in the agencies, and they have the criminal will to continue to lie and engage in all of these activities. So when you pull back from this, we have a truly deranged group. And it's very entertaining at a certain level. I mean, my job is very fun just because it's so wacky. But I'm just wondering what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do, because they've always been counting on you not being able to testify, as we know. Now it's in private. You always said they never let you testify in public. Then you got shot with a polonium dart. They T-boned your car. They're openly saying kill Trump, kill the Republicans, kill everybody. I just wonder, Roger, how far this is going to go, because they understand America has fully rejected them. There is a total political realignment. If the Republicans don't deliver, they're going to be removed as well politically. So I just hope they understand, no matter what you do, dumbasses, this isn't poor North Korea with no history of freedom. You're not going to be able to execute
amendment rights of the silent majority. You're going to be asking for a fight that you cannot possibly win. The American people see that they're getting real change in Washington. They see that this entire Russian narrative has been a coordinated effort to undermine the legitimacy and the legality of the Trump presidency. It has been an attempt to denigrate our president because he will not rush off to another foreign war. He refuses to plunge us further into debt. He is disgusted by the international trade deals that have destroyed the job market in this country. And he intends to put forward a foreign policy that puts America first. That's not racist. That's not bigoted. That's not foolhardy. That's common sense. And the two-party duopoly that has run the country into the ground is hoping that they can stretch this phony Russian investigation out for a couple years, rebound in the 2018 elections to get a majority in the House, and then they will seek to impeach President Trump on the basis of anything that Robert Mueller serves up. Here's the bad news. Your president, Barack Obama, will be going to prison for the surveillance, unconstitutionally, of millions of Americans. Brennan, Clapper, Rogers, you might as well call them inmates.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. They've gotten together criminally. This isn't the two parties being buddied.
It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy to spy on the American people.
And that's why Brennan said, you better watch your mouth, Mr. President, 2 days before he fired him. And they said he couldn't believe he was fired. They couldn't believe that they were intimidating and in the president's face and acting like a bunch of thugs engaging in crimes that they've now been caught in. And I just wonder if the Attorney General just sits there and lets them all commit giant crimes that they've accused Trump of. It's time for the crybabies, the Democrats, the globalists, the parasites, the Nazi collaborators like George Soros to understand America is awake and we know you're the enemy. And you want a war? You got one. We're politically kicking your butt. Infowars.com is under attack, folks. We need your prayers. We need your support. We need you to visit InfoWarsStore.com. Get Roger Stone's book, the videos, the non-GMO heirloom seeds, the documentary films. We need you. We got free shipping through the month of July. We've got amazing nutraceuticals that the enemy attacks. Bezos owns Whole Foods. The Washington Post attacks me for selling supplements when that's his business. The biggest business is supplements. They don't want us to have our own economy. So if you want to stand against these tyrants and stand against this bullying, spread the link of this live feed. Or after it's archived in a few minutes, share it. Now let's take a few phone calls from Facebook and Twitter and then get you to dinner and some food you
Sounds good.
rightly deserve, you evil fuck criminal. Let's take some Facebook questions.
They're about 20 seconds delayed, so they should start asking us soon. Someone asked, do you think Trump is safe in France? It's not about this, but...
Trump's in France today.
Yeah.
Look, one of the things that concerns me is the physical safety of the president. I pray about this every night. I wrote a book about the Kennedy assassination. Assassination has very sadly been a part of the political fabric of the world for a long time. And I do think the president's critics and his enemies are demented enough to try to harm him physically and get him out.
He has amazing courage. How he travels, how he walks outside the motorcade. He's a man of destiny, and he's fully committed. You talk about he's fatalistic. Let's briefly talk about President Trump and his fatalisticness in a good way.
Yeah, he shows
kind of like Colonel Travis.
He shows no fear. I've been there when the Secret Service said, "Well, Mr. Trump, we think you should go in the back door," and he says, "Well, hell with that. I'm going in the front door." He's a man of enormous courage. He's taken on the two-party duopoly and the deep state that run the country into the ground. And we know assassination is part of their bag of tricks. We know that they're involved in money laundering, forgery, murder, and worse. So I pray every single day for the president's health and the health and safety of his family.
Next question is, do you think this is all a smokescreen because Hillary and Obama are about to get prosecuted?
We're going to talk about that in a minute, but let me go back to the first question. Studying world politics, world history, and modern politics, modern history, this is the most fantastical time you'll ever see. The stakes, the changes, the sides, the weaponization of media, just to have somebody like Trump actually delivering. Doesn't mean I agree with everything he does, but he really believes that what he's doing is right. He really is the president of this country. He really has kicked the special interest out. He really has kicked the lobbyists to the curb. He really is delivering on his promises or fighting as hard as he can. And it's just, I hope people realize that the historical time we're in. I'm really proud of America bucking Hollywood, bucking MSM, bucking their bullying and intimidation. I'm really proud of Americans. It was the best of times, worst of times. I'm also really ashamed of so-called liberals who are just a bunch of spoiled, rotten, snot-nosed brats, pseudo-intellectuals who are just playing like this is World of Warcraft video game where they call for all our deaths, and it's not. And I just... Now, getting back, is this all a smokescreen? Well, of course it's a smokescreen. They know they've done all the things they say Trump's done, so they're scared. But he gave them an olive branch. They pissed on him.
Repeatedly. Look, it was President Trump who met with Al Sharpton, met with Al Gore, said perhaps Hillary shouldn't be prosecuted for her crimes at the Clinton Foundation. He acted in a conciliatory way to try to bind the country. And that olive branch was slapped out of his hand. Now we have Barack Obama and his top circle involved in the wholesale surveillance of Americans in violation of the Constitution, a criminal offense. What did the president know, and when did he know it? If we are a nation of laws, then someone must be prosecuted for these egregious violations. My nominees, Brennan, Rogers, Clapper, Rice, Jarrett, and yes, Barack Obama himself, because the buck stops there. When the president decides to move on them, it will be swift and it will be justice. And in my opinion, it will happen.
I mean, if the country's going to survive, it has to happen. These people are the scum of the earth. Let's take a few more questions.
Why do the Dems want a one-world government?
Why do power elites want a world war government, including the Republican establishment? Because everybody wants to rule the world in the power structure, Pinky. You know, I mean, that's what it goes back to. Hitler wanted to do it. Napoleon wanted to do it. Caesar wanted to do it. Roger, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think it's exactly right. Therefore, totalitarianism, as long as they get to call the shots, and they, as elites, believe that they will. What's pathetic is that the great Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy, Harry Truman, Franklin Roosevelt, has come to this. They won't stand up for gays or Christians or Jews who are being oppressed by Islamic terrorists. They won't stand up for freedom of the press, for the First Amendment, for free expression. They're supposed to be classical liberals. In fact, they're the fascists. It's very disconcerting. What happened to the Democratic Party of the middle class of John F. Kennedy? I don't think it exists anymore.
I just can't believe that they put out all those fake polls. It's in the WikiLeaks. And then they blame you and Trump and just say in a lawsuit, you work for the Russians and you did it with no proof. Because they've got Trump Jr. in a meeting with some Russian lawyer saying he had dirt on Hillary.
Well,
I mean,
they accuse you of a crime when they can't even prove that the crime was committed, never mind that we did it. Sorry, there's just no proof that the Russians or anyone hacked the DNC emails. They can't prove that.
This is desperation. They don't have anything, so they just want to keep throwing more of this garbage into the air, this pixie dust. A few more questions, and we're going to shut down the transmission.
Next one is, where can people find a copy of this lawsuit online?
If you just search engine Roger Stone or Trump lawsuit, it's all over the news. And then there are links to the complaint. We've got them up on Infowars.com. It is the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. This is in D.C. And it's Donald J. Trump for president. That's where they sent the lawsuit. What's the name of the such and such versus?
It would be the three plaintiffs whose names are Roy Cockrum, Scott Comer, and Eric Schoenberg, represented by an organization called United to Protect Democracy.
Yeah, you go to their
Donald J.
website.
Trump for president at 725 Fifth Avenue, and Roger Stone at my home address in Florida. An egregious violation.
Yeah, let's just
of the
explain
law.
it. I mean, if you just type in lawsuit Trump and click Google News, you can't miss it, folks. It's right there. It's this is National Law Journal. High-profile team sues Trump campaign alleging role in DNC hack. What's crazy in the suit, they don't allege it. I mean, it's not even done civilly where something's admitted. And then again, here they are. Obama's lawyers form worst-case scenario group to tackle Trump. This is the lawyer group, Politico. Soros-tied Obama lawyers form group to battle Trump. And that's this United Protect Democracy.org. That's where you can read the lawsuit. And look, they want to make themselves celebrities. They want to raise money off Democratic donors. The Democratic Party has the worst fundraising in its modern history right now. They are imploding. And that's what this is. They don't even care if this fails. The political hacks that are involved just want to get more money from the Democratic donors. So this is just their desperate attempt to hang on, but I don't see it working.
Look, I resent them utilizing my notoriety and my name ID to try to hype up their phony, fraudulent lawsuit. Picked a fight with the wrong guys, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, this is you. This is
75 million. See you in court.
This is just a memorandum of our contract we're going to get done tomorrow. But I just want to say that you're officially on the team to try to implement this plan. And so let's just get that signed right here.
Great. I'm just going to change this to $150,000 a month. Oh, pardon me.
All right, there we go. Roger Stone launching in September a syndicated radio show 6 days a week with Infowars.com on the commercial radio. And the stations are just hopping to pick you and the other great talk show hosts like Mike Cernovich and, of course, Owen Schroyer, David Knight, and a lot of others that a lot of people I got to call. People know what the network tell them to get on board. And so I'm on over 200 stations now. I mean, you keep saying 160. It's more than that. And this is going to be very, very exciting, Roger.
I'm looking forward to it.
Good to have you on board, my friend.
Excellent.
You've been working with us a while, but this is very, very exciting. All right, that's it for questions. We love you guys, gals. We appreciate you. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, in studio from the ATX, Infowars.com/show. Now let's go get you some dinner.
Indeed.
Thank you, Zimmerman, for coming to help run things.